Some would call me a security freak. Others would just call me a freak, but that's not important. What is important is protecting yourself on the internet. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Video Call-In Show, that show that invites you to be a live video guest on this program, talk about whatever you want to talk about. Joining is really easy, and we'll go over that right after my diatribe. This is a very important subject tonight. We've had some folks in the YouTube world have some problems. I don't want to mention any names. I think we all know in our circle who that is. Now, having said that, I thought tonight would be an appropriate night to actually go over some of those basic security tenets that we should all be aware of as we live at least part of our lives on the internet. And, who among us cannot say we do that? So me being that guy who's been on, not YouTube as a platform, but the internet as a platform since about 92, maybe earlier than that. I thought, who better to go over that than someone like me? Now, again, these are basic tenets. These are the top level guidelines. This is the bare minimum of what you should do to protect yourself. There are so many things that are required to do to protect yourself. I'm going to try to boil them down into those do's and don'ts that are most appropriate. Now, if you guys are wondering, I am taking calls after this segment, but I want to spend a good amount of time to this. There is a link down in the chat with the meeting ID number, so feel free to jump into the waiting room, and if I've got time for calls afterwards, I'll make sure I get to them. For those of you who enjoy content such as this, make sure that you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss an episode. Having said that, let's get right down to it. Now, I thought I would start with the don'ts because there are a lot of things that we just should not do as we navigate cyberspace. Haven't heard that word in a while, have you? This information superhighway, I'm just going to throw out all these old colloquialisms just for fun. And to show my age. And believe me, I am completely aware of the irony that suddenly my stream is not good tonight. And I don't know why that is. So if I'm a little herky-jerky, don't worry. I plan on breaking this out as a separate video, and I'm recording it as I speak because I don't want that sort of interruption. So let's just get right down to it. There are several don'ts in this world of internet navigation. First and foremost, and this really covers virtually everything, right? And that would be, and this is specific to email, right? Do not open any suspicious emails. And I know that sounds like it's real easy. There are several emails that are literally concocted to look as though they come from a credible institution, but you've got to be more careful. As we've learned in recent events, there have been some nefarious emails go out, and people have taken them as real. Well, there are a lot of telltale signs you can look for when you're looking for a real or a fabricated email, a cloned, if you will. But learn how to recognize those. They're really not that hard. We'll go into some of those as I continue here. But some of them are quite obvious. The first thing you should look at is the URL. If it is not from a trusted URL, and you can just tell by the URL itself, it's going to say blank.com. If it has the what you think is a business name and then something else.com, it's not it. You just got to really pay attention to the URL. All right. Secondly, do not open any unexpected email attachments. And I've got a caveat to that as well. What that means is if you see anything attached to an email that comes your way and you happen to open the email and looked and saw it had attachments, Do not double click those unless you explicitly asked for those, or if somebody has told you that they are going to send you an attachment. And even then, as we'll learn here very shortly, there's something else you need to know about that. We'll get to that in just a second. Trying to make this a little easier for me to go through. This is not normally my format. But just remember, do not double click any email attachments unless you are sure it came from somebody who's reputable. And even if you're sure that it came from somebody reputable, let's go back. Actually, we'll get to if you're sure that it came from somebody reputable in a second. The other one is don't click any links in emails that you cannot confirm are from an institution that is trustworthy. Now, you've got to make sure that it's not someone who has cloned a reputable institution, organization. You've got to make sure that it is a reputable institution before you click any links. That includes buttons, that includes videos, that includes images, and that includes links. Do not click on those if you can avoid it. Now, do not ever send login credentials via email. I cannot stress that enough. We get far too comfortable with what we assume we are secure with. Email is not one of them. What you've got to understand about the internet is every time you make a request for a web page, every time you send an email, every time you make a request for an email, those come to you in individual packets that are reconstructed at the source, sometimes before the source. Now, those hit so many different servers. A server is just a computer. It's literally a computer like your laptop or desktop or whatnot. It just runs different software. Now, those hit those servers along the way. Like, for instance, if you send an email straight to Google, it doesn't go from your computer right to Google's computer. It goes to the NAPs, the nodes. It goes in so many different directions, and it can be sniffed by so many different people and programs. So do not ever send your login credentials. That's not, there's another point I'd like to make about that as well. Any organization that you have signed up with an account and you've created a username and password will not ask for your password. If they do, it's either one, a phishing expedition for that scammer. It's a scam. Or it's someone just trying to get your credentials flat out. You know, it doesn't even have to look like it. But even your friends and family, don't send email or I'm sorry, login credentials, your username and password. Do not send them via email. In fact, don't even send them during via text. And if you have to, don't label them as a password. Don't label it as a username. Don't label it as, and I go through this here in a few moments as well. Yeah, hang on just a second here. Yeah, in the do's, I actually cover that. So, anyway, the idea is that you don't want anyone to be able to grab those as they are in transit to whomever you're trying to send them to. Be as prudent as you can. Make sure that you do not label them as passwords or security or access or login. None of that. Like I said, we'll cover that a little bit more, but this is very, very important. No organization that you have an account with will ask you for the password. They have back doors that they can see your account. If they don't, you're probably dealing with the wrong organization, number one, or two, it's a phony email set up to look like an official email. Just don't do it no matter what. And you can't be penalized for doing that. Know that. In fact, I don't even like to speak them over the phone. That's how paranoid this guy is. Remember when I said security freak? Yes, Wendell Live. I will go over what happened again a little bit later. So that I think that's the only question, folks. I'm not ignoring you. I'm really not. I'm just I'm trying to go through this. If you've got questions during this, I'll try to answer them as I go along. All right, moving on. Do not respond to any email, suspicious emails. The danger there is that as soon as you hit reply and it goes off, you are on no less than a dozen extra email lists because they know there's a warm body attached to that email address. You don't want that to happen. There are several ways to deal with suspicious emails. We'll go into that as well, but just do not respond to those email addresses. I don't think there's any questions to that. And also, speaking of usernames, passwords, do not use simple or the same passwords for everything. Passwords are meant to be hard to crack for a reason, because you don't want people to crack them. If you've got a password as simple as password, you're doing it wrong. If you've got a password based on your first and last name with a couple letters transposed, you're doing it wrong. You've got to encrypt those. You've got to think, well, how tough would it be for a machine to guess what my username and password is? Well, the easier you think it is, the easier that's going to be. So just please, and I'll tell you how to manage those in the do section. This actually closes out the don'ts. Again, this is high level. This is not an all-encompassing security review or security advice. It is just the top level things you must do or must not do. Let's get into the do's. First and foremost, if you're going to spend any time on the internet at all, hooked up, Wi-Fi, it doesn't matter if you're surfing or not. If your computer is hooked up to has an internet connection, buy and install a virus protection software. I don't care if it's Norton. I've used Norton in the past. In fact, I've used them all. I don't care if it's McAfee. I don't care if it's Bitdefender, which is the one I prefer. I don't care if it's Avast, which I have on a couple machines. They have a free version. Avast actually has a really nice free version for those of you who don't need. Yes, we'll get to that as well. Moonlighting. Yeah, for those of us, who don't have a lot of money, it's fine to use Avast. It's the bare minimum, but please run a virus protection software. Hopefully one with a firewall and internet protection. And if you have those, make sure that you trust their indication of bad websites. What they do is they have an entire database that people submit to on a regular basis when they find a malicious website, a website that will do harm, and there are out there. You can place viruses in images. The code is real easy to place a virus in. And as soon as you request that web page, you open yourself up. So if a virus software or protection software, a firewall protection software says, look, this is a bad website, believe it. Sometimes they get it wrong. I mean, no machine is 100% correct, but best to err on the side of caution, as in my estimation. All right, moving on. Now remember I said do not reply to suspicious emails or what you know to be malicious emails, but you can report them. By all means, delete them, but make sure that if you're using Gmail, for instance, there's a button at the top of in their navigation that looks like a stop sign. That is the spam. Report it as spam. The more people do that in Google, the more it'll be recognized in spam, and Google will investigate and find out and block their IP from doing that. And I know they mirror IPs and duplicate and all that, but no, Magic Jones, you should not feel bad. I'm glad you're moonlighting over here. So, so anyway, make sure, and you can even report it to specific authorities. Let's say you get an email from eBay that is malicious. They're asking you for your email. I'm sorry, your username and password. They're asking you for. They're telling you that something's hideously wrong, but that eBay would never ask for your password. Send it to eBay's spam. What do they call that? They call it the oh crap! I just had a huge brain fart. It's the reporting agency. What you do is they want to know whenever someone has actually duplicated their organization, their brand, and are trying to scam people. Their scam reporting network. whatever that might be. I can't remember. It's been a while. All right, so make sure you report it, but by all means delete it, but never respond. All right. Now, I told you earlier um, not to open up suspicious attachments in email unless they're trusted. Well, here's the caveat to that. If someone actually has a virus that takes over their email server, we've seen it before where um, suddenly you're getting emails from a friend and that email says, well, I never sent that. And most of them will have attachments. Well, they do that so that you'll think that it's trusted. Once you have a virus protection software, the only thing you can do to make sure that that's a trusted or an attachment that's not going to hurt you is to download it, which does not open it. Place it in a file folder that you can quarantine if you have to with your virus protection software, and then run a scan on it. Make sure you keep your virus software updated so that you know. You can scan it, find out if there's any malicious attachments. Email your friend and ask, or your friend or colleague, and ask them if they actually sent you something. If they did, it's 90% of the time it's going to be great. But make sure that even trusted attachments carry with it a bit of mistrust. All right, moving on. Another thing you should do is change your passwords regularly. And the reason I say that is because even though the algorithm to bust let's say a 10 to 20 letter character password is extraordinary, it can be done. And if you think that for a moment that there might be a machine working, trying to figure out your password right now as we speak, I guarantee you there are some password guessers that are working as we speak on someone else's account trying to guess a password. They're just running through every possible combination that it can think of. Well, eventually it's going to hit unless you're continually changing your password. You better your chances of not being hit. So change your passwords regularly. And you're going to say, well, Jim, that sucks. That's a lot of work. Well, yes, it is. But not it's worth, because what you can do is to safe keep a username password list. I do it. I have several, to be honest with you. What I do is every time I open an account or change a password. Well, let's start with opening an account. Every time I open an account, I will literally place that into, let's say, an Excel spreadsheet that is also password protected, and I will even encrypt the username password to where only I could decipher which, what that actually is, what property is for, what the username and what the password is, and the recovery email. And only I'm going to be able to decipher what those are, unless you can figure out the code. But anyway, I do that on both electronically. Remember, it's also password protected, but also I have created that list. I print it out on a regular basis and I keep it in my safe. And I'm going to tell you why that's important. We never know how many rides we have on this ball. What are you going to do if you are the only one that knows your bank account PIN or username password? What is your spouse going to do? They're not going to be able to get in. It's going to be a horrible, horrible experience for them. So what I've done is I've taken that master password, here I've got an envelope. It's sealed. It says do not open until upon my demise. And I would know if somebody went in there early. They have the password to the safe, but I also have it in that document, the access to the password, the master password list. And the only reason I do that is because I don't want them to have to go through hell like I've already had to go through on occasion. So make sure that you safe keep a username password list. and list everything about that. List the account, the recovery email, the PIN, the username, the password. Now, in that same breath, I should add, avoid naming it something obvious like username, UN, password, PW, login, access, .xml, or whatever you're using. Name it something that somebody wouldn't be looking for, because I guarantee you, if a hacker gets into your PC, gets control of your PC, those are going to be the first things they search for. Where's that password document? So remember not to use those names, that naming convention for those files. Magic Jones, I think that is actually an invitation. Don't open this file is an absolute invitation. But hey, I like where you're going with that. All right, and above all else, because we all know what it's like to lose things, even when what I've told you tonight is probably going to protect you. I'm going to say 75 to 80%. There's a whole lot more you can do, but 75 to 80%. If you follow these guidelines, you're going to keep yourself out of trouble. You're going to do your best due diligence to keep the bad guys from getting your personal information, your login information. But it may happen. So your only defense at that point is to back up everything. Everything. I have a rule of thumb that I use. If there's anything, any file that I have on any computer that I cannot lose, guaranteed there will be at least 2 files in existence on at least 2 different systems, whether it be an external hard drive, a CD, in the cloud, on another laptop or PC. But guaranteed, if there are files that I could not stand to lose, they are backed up. And you should be doing the same thing that way. And this would include your YouTube videos. Back those up. You never know when something horrible is going to happen. It could be YouTube that shuts you down and you have no access to your stuff. I mean, they have the ability to do that. It's in the agreement. It's almost as though we don't own anything once we upload it to YouTube. So take that into account. Download them now. Back them up. Make sure you have them for forever and ever. And clean that out every once in a while, because what you don't want to happen is you don't really want so much. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't want so much of those old files that they become unmanageable. Believe me, I know. So the moral of this story is protect yourself. Don't fall for these sort of scammers. And like I said before, it's best to err on the side of caution, even if they are legit, but you can't tell. Then don't do it. If there's a reasonable doubt in your mind that those are not legit emails or websites, then thank you, Brad. I'll go over you guys in a moment. Just let me finish up this whole thought here. That actually blew my train of thought. Thanks, Brad. Oh yes, now I remember. So even if you believe for a just a bit that it's not legit, send that to the actual organization and have them verify it. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. If they don't verify it, then ignore it. Seriously. That most all of them have a contact. And yes, it may take a good amount of time, especially for the tech giants. But ask them to verify it. I should have had a lower third for that, but you get what I'm saying. Like I said, the best thing is, guys, protect yourself. Let's do something here. Let us say hello to all of you in the chat. I'm sorry I've ignored you. so so it looks like my chat has already been hacked. Brad can't type anything. Hello, free to laugh now. Susan Hamilton, always good to see you. Bob Dip. No, you're not the freak man. I am. The Outdoor Cousins Redneck Connection. How are you doing, guys? How are you doing? 400 AGL. Good to see you. Free to laugh now. Yes, I already said that. It is time of the topic. Oh, and Window Live did actually ask why this came about. Well, I think we all know that in our circle. I mean, this is a relatively large circle, but there's a YouTuber called Mickey XOXO, wonderful gal. She's just delightful. In fact, she's got more energy than anyone I really know. Well, you know what I didn't do? I didn't update my lower third. She's got more energy than most people I know. And the poor gal fell for one of those scams where they asked for her username and password, said that her YouTube channel contained a lot of spam. Well, they wanted her username. That was one of the problems, and she sent it, and of course, then they immediately changed it on her, and then she got locked out of her account, and it's a really sad story. And I hope to God she gets it back under control because that is just horrid. And that's what precipitated all of this. Window Live, if you're still listening, welcome to the show, by the way. Outdoor Cousins, how you doing? Lipstick Chick, living my dream. How you doing? Good to see you again. Let's see. Germany Travel Personal Guide. How you doing, Darren? Every time I try to go to your live streams, man, they go away on me. I don't know why. I get notified and then they just go away. Creator Spotlight Show. How you doing, Mike? Good to see you, my friend. Magic Jones, how you doing? Jason, always good to see you. Recycle Dude, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you in here. Let's see. Nightbot, get lost. Let's see. Who else do we have? I think I'm going to break out that first part and make it its own video, almost like not a guest cut, but hello, Eileen Value, the fam. Good to see you. Let's see. Weedman Photography. Pleasure having you aboard. Have I missed anyone? My God, it's I've seen these. Oh, Above and Beyond Drums. How you doing, Jim? Yeah, Luke Duke. How you doing, buddy? Just saw you over on Ed's stream. Hopefully Ed's hanging around. He might be tired though. Man is hard worker. Placer Chaser, how you doing, buddy? Welcome to the show. Flash Farm. This is a Flash Fam raid. Yes. Flash Fam raid. I knew it. Jesse Mendez, how you doing, buddy? Hope I didn't bore you guys. There's Ed. How you doing, Ed? Yeah, I hope I didn't bore you guys with that. I hope you guys walk away with something on that. I really do. It's important. Was blind. Welcome to the show again. Let's see. Yes, hit that button. Share it out. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that, buddy. I appreciate it. My community is so great. You guys are fantastic. I don't worry about most of you, and I hope that that first 20, 30 minutes was helpful for you. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I had a really rough day today, though. I'll just tell you. You guys know I've told you this before, but I have a local VFW that a lot of my extended family goes to. Well, they've been slowly pulling away, and they just came under a new command recently. And as it turns out, I just lost my practice space, and I am friggin' bummed about that. Like you wouldn't believe. I had the entire basement, had a wet bar. Of course, we didn't use it, but they've got all of the upstairs with the full bar, and then the auditorium, and then downstairs it's kind of like a mini auditorium with a small stage and full bar. That, like I said, they hardly ever use. Two rooms, but it's very, very large, especially to practice in a band environment. and they voted us out. Oh, thanks, Bob. But that just sucks. It just sucks big time, and it just ruined my day. Just ruined my day. But I don't mean to be laying this on you guys. um, well, no, there's going to be more drumming, Jason. I just don't know where now. I mean, my buddy's got some equipment. Hell, I rebuilt an entire Pearl set, his Pearl set that he's had since the '80s for him about 5 years ago, and it looks exactly like it when I started now. Um, but that's only because a bunch of different people have been playing on it. But I just it was so comfortable down there because I can leave everything there and all my audio equipment, my lights. And now I'm starting to think that I'm going to have to sell things off because it's almost too much of a bother at this point. I can't get bandmates to stick together. I was there probably about 10 years, 10 friggin' years. Thanks, Jason. 10 friggin' years I was there. And the worst part about it was I was paying my way, right? Anytime they wanted somebody to come in and do karaoke, I ran karaoke. Anytime. It didn't matter. I don't think I ever turned them down. And they kept asking me if I do like once a month. And I'm like, yeah, and then I'd never hear from them, which, that happens. It's a volunteer organization. But not only that, but when I had a band, we would literally play their special events as payment for the joint. Won't be the last type of security show I'm going to do either. Bad buffer. Yeah, I know. I know it's horrible.